what you're going to see more and more of, I think, are what I would call sort of Hail Mary passes. And one of the things that jumps out, for example, about the attack on Iran, which was sort of an extraordinary gamble, is the degree to which it looks like what Putin did in Ukraine when his own numbers and economy were tanking at home. He attacked Ukraine. Again, with the idea it was going to be a lightning strike. And now look at him. And I think we're seeing something very, very similar in Iran. If Trump had been able to have this lightning strike, it seems he really thought it was going to give him a real boost in the polls at home. And there are many reasons that didn't happen, but it didn't happen. And in fact, that is an enormously unpopular military exercise. And at this point, the latest numbers came out yesterday. 12% of Americans want us to have troops on the ground in Iran. 12% of Americans is an incredibly, incredibly low number. And they're not even there yet. So, we've already taken, tragic losses of our service members. But the idea of putting our people on the ground in Iran in what is very clearly a war of choice is not going to help. So you saw that sort of as a Hail Mary pass, but now you're also seeing some other things as well. So one of the things that Trump did just minutes before I came on was he signed an executive order to limit mail-in voting. Trump and allegedly members of his cabinet and certainly members of Congress are extremely concerned at the probability really that the Democrats will retake control of the House of Representatives. And now I believe they are also favored to take control of the Senate. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. That just means that that's what the probabilities look like now. And Trump has been very vocal. In fact, he said in January to a group of Republican House members that they must retain control of the House of Representatives because if they did not, he was going to get impeached again, which is under his skin. But what he's really worried about is once you stop having Republicans in the House and the Senate cover for him, there will be hearings and there will be subpoenas and there will be much more information coming out, as it already is, about the Epstein files, about the corruption, about the kickbacks that you've already seen happening in a number of different places. And so he's determined to keep most of us away from voting so that he can keep a Republican Congress. And again, this is not some inside baseball game. They are literally saying it in the open that if they can get through the SAVE Act, for example, or if they can, sort of jigger mail-in voting, they will be able to make sure that the Republicans never lose again. And the SAVE Act is still trying to force through the Senate and then the House. Remember, the House passed a watered down version of the SAVE Act. The Senate, he is now pressuring to pass a maximal version of the SAVE Act, and then it would have to go back to the House. And you all ask me, what will you need to have if these laws pass? This is all speculative at this point because the measure that passed the House, for example, did not require you to show ID on voting, but only on registration. The Senate version has both. I mean, and so right now we don't know. You can't make any definitive declarations of what is in any of those measures because they haven't passed yet, except the one that passed the House. But what we do know is that they're an attempt to make sure that a number of people get thrown off the voting rolls, not least because part of the SAVE Act requires states to hand over their voting rolls to go through a program that is designed to verify whether or not people are citizens when they apply for federal benefits. Completely different thing than voting. Unfortunately, it is also called the SAVE system. They have nothing to do with each other. The second system I just mentioned has been around for a long time, but when it has been used, it has on voter rolls, because a number of states have handed over their voter rolls, it has a failure rate of up to 14%. People getting kicked off the rolls are identified as non-citizens when in fact they are citizens. All right, and the Department of Homeland Security and the Social Security Administration to approve a list of absentee voters, and the U.S. Postal Service would only be allowed to send mail-in ballots to voters that were on that list, and Attorney General Pam Bondi would investigate anybody distributing mail-in ballots. This is going to be, I'm sure this has already been challenged in the courts. So we don't know where that's going to go, but you can see him sort of being like, okay, that didn't work. I'm going to try this. So this attempt to hammer himself into power is going to get stronger going forward, pretty clearly.